Welcome to a special edition of Newsware's Trade Talk. Joining me today is Steve Hill from AIQ Systems. In today's episode, we're going to have a discussion about market opportunities for the quarter ahead and potential market catalysts. So I'd like to start off by saying welcome, Steve. Since our last podcast, we've had some rather unusual moves in the market, specifically in the oil sector. I mean, we've got a number of catalysts going on there. You got the Venezuelan situation, you got the Iranian situation, of course, you got the Russian-Ukraine peace talks. You even have new sanctions from the European Union on Russian oil. Listen, the Venezuelan situation is confusing because while they do sit on the world's largest oil reserve, it's not the high grade oil, that we have here, that West Texas Intermediate. This is, oil is harder to refine and mainly used for asphalt. And, the infrastructure, it's fallen apart down there in Venezuela. So that's kind of an issue as well for any of the big oil companies to do business down there. But Chevron sees, is full steam ahead trying to do business down there in Venezuela. Um, if you look recently, we have seen a big bullish move in the oil markets, because the oil markets are really cautious over the Iranian situation. I mean, while both Iran and the United States have indicated that the talks are ongoing, the fact is that they can't even agree on the scope of the talks. And, that's kind of concerning. And, the Middle East has always been a source of volatility, and any hostilities that break out, you can see oil move, between 90 and $100 a barrel in no time. But but as long as the talks are continuing with no military action, you can see oil prices ebb lower as that volatility premium starts to wash out. Steve, what do you think? And let me know of any pending catalysts that you see in the next 3 to 6 months. Uh, you know, we both kind of agree that oil is going to be volatile over the next 3 to 6 months. Do you see any other sectors that you think have potential to be a big catalyst over the next quarter, Steve? Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, a lot of these AI tools are going to actually level the playing field for a lot of smaller companies to compete with some of the big boys, like has not been possible, historically. But I do see that. It makes sense. I mean, one of the other sectors I'm kind of looking at, I still, I look at the healthcare sector and I just see these stocks being beaten up. I mean, the health insurers, specifically, UNH and Cigna and CVS. I mean, you had that really negative news announcement saying that they're proposing a 0.9% cap on Medicare for 2027. And that whole sector just fell apart on that news. But I got to remember, it's a proposed, and I also know that these firms have some of the most powerful lobbyists in Washington D.C. So whatever is being proposed, that's the headline. The details are not going to be what the headline said, a couple of weeks ago. And I foresee this to be a big battle. I foresee that the lobbyists will really be able to twist some arms in Congress, and that zero point 0.9 is going to be punched up to 1.9 or 2.9, and these healthcare stocks will recover. But so I do like the health insurance, but if one play I'm really looking at right now is Nike, NKE. I like Nike. I mean, at $60, I think it's cheap. And when you consider the fact about the tariffs and China, you have to kind of reassess the valuation of Nike. The tariffs, there could be a decision on the tariffs as early as next week from the Supreme Court. They could say that the AIPA tariffs are illegal. What happens then? All that money goes back to these retailers. You look at the fact of uh, Trump is supposedly scheduling a meeting with President Xi in China in April. There's a lot of talk about it. If that meeting happens, they're going to be reducing trade barriers between the two countries. That could really help to assist Nike as well. And they're really putting a lot of effort into their outdoor athletic shoes. And I think that's a good market for them to be in. I think it's under appreciated, but you could see, some significant gains coming from Nike over the next quarter. What do you think, Steve? It's hard to say. I don't know specifically about Nike passing on the tariffs, but I do know that uh, if the tariffs go away, their bottom line will start to increase, and if they can, and they can't physically make shoes in the U.S. as cost effective as they can do overseas. So if the tariffs drop, if the tariffs are in play, they could be a real winner here. They could be a real winner here. Right. So Steve, what's your what do you have a pick for this quarter? Do you have an idea for this quarter? It's picks and shovels for those AI plays. That's where the money is because the capex spend, you see it, and the capex spend is there to spend money, and the people that are building out the infrastructure, they're going to be making profits off of these big AI spends. And you talk about Dollar General, you talk about Costco, and you talk about the tariffs. I mean, if the Supreme Court says the tariffs are illegal, that these retailers are going to show some significant outperformance over the next quarter. So yeah, I think your plays make sense as well. All right. Well, listen, that concludes, this edition of Newsware's AIQ Trade Talk podcast, the special edition. If you'd like more information on AIQ systems, please go to www.aiqsystems.com. For more information on Newsware, please go to www.newsware.com. And we look to hear from you shortly. Steve, I'd like to thank you again for coming on, and we'll be talking shortly. Thank you. Okay. Bye bye.